We all agreed. You're not part of the wedding party, my brother said, handing me a flimsy paper plate just outside the glowing white tent. His voice had no warmth, no hesitation, like he was doing me a kindness by being brutally honest instead of pretending. Then came the gut punch. His new father-in-law, a man I'd spoken to exactly once before, let out a smug laugh and added, "Real family eats under a roof." I stared at the plate in my hand. It shook a little, as if it knew it didn't belong any more than I did. Inside the tent, laughter swirled with the scent of garlic butter and champagne flutes clinking. The place was dripping with rented beauty, string lights, polished linens, curated perfection. I wasn't allowed in, not even for the meal. My name? Not on the seating chart, not at the main table, not even shoved in with the second cousins. Nowhere. I stood there nodding like a clueless idiot. And the worst part? I had paid for a part of that tent. I covered the catering deposit. I sent my brother $6,200 through Venmo 6 months earlier when he said the vendors were chasing him down. Now I was barefoot, in damp grass, holding a paper plate like I'd crashed a stranger's wedding. "I'll be taking that back," I said under my breath. My brother blinked. "What?" "The envelope." I pointed to the white card I dropped into the gift box earlier. "It's not meant for you anymore." He looked baffled until I reached in, ignoring the bridesmaid who gasped like I'd pulled a fire alarm. The envelope had my handwriting on it. I opened it slowly, pulled out the check, tore it in half, then again, and again, until the pieces were small enough to fall like confetti. That's when the silence hit. Thick, heavy, uncomfortable in a way you couldn't joke away. "Financial ghosts don't bring gifts," I said, tossing the scraps into the trash. His face twisted like I'd slapped him across the jaw. "Maybe I had," they pleaded. His fiance's mother murmured something under her breath. My own mother suddenly came running from inside, eyes wide like she had just remembered she had another child. But I just smiled, turned, and walked away. When I got home, I opened Venmo. The shared balance for wedding costs, $6,200 still pending, was still linked to my account. I tapped a few buttons and wiped it clean, zeroed it out. Then I blocked every number associated with it. By morning, my phone looked like it had survived a lightning storm. 39 voicemails, 112 messages, and one call from a number I hadn't seen in years, a number I thought was long gone. That's when it really hit me. This was never just about the wedding. People say weddings bring families together. In my case, it peeled the mask off. 3 weeks before the big day, Ryan, my brother, called and asked for a small favor. "Just until the caterer cashes the final invoice," he said. "I'll pay you back right after the honeymoon." It was $3,200. I sent it within 10 minutes. Then 3 days later, Mom called. Her tone was soft, like she'd practiced sounding caring. "I didn't want to ask this, but your father's suit, he's gained some weight. He's self-conscious. We found something that fits. It's Armani, but we'd never expect—" I cut her off. Told her I'd take care of it. Another $1,200. Gone. A week later, Samantha, Ryan's fiancée, messaged me. No greeting, no small talk. "The photographer's package doesn't include drone footage. Would you be willing to help? We'd be forever grateful." $1,800. I approved the Venmo request without a word, because that's what I did. That's who I was. The buffer, the fixer, the invisible scaffolding behind every shiny family moment. Until I learned I wasn't even invited to the rehearsal dinner. I called Ryan just to check in. Something simple. "Hey, just wanted to ask, what time should I be there next Friday?" He laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, you're not coming to that. It's mostly bridal party, immediate family. You know how tight the guest list is." "I am immediate family," I said. Silence. Then, "Don't be like that. It's not personal. We just didn't want to complicate the logistics." He ended the call. I didn't hang up. He did. And that was the beginning of the unraveling. I opened my Venmo history. $6,200, spread over 5 months. Each payment labeled something helpful: vendor, deposit, backup gift. Then I remembered the budgeting spreadsheet Samantha had shared with me months ago, back in March. A Google sheet. It was still public. One tab immediately caught my eye. Excluded guests. There in cell B12, next to my name, someone had typed, "Doesn't match the vibe. Possible wild card. Recommend excluding from key events. Keep outside main tent." I froze. I'd helped them create that vibe. But it didn't stop there. It got worse, much worse. The next morning, I got a Facebook notification. I'd been tagged. It was a post from Samantha. A photo of Ryan, the bridal party, her parents, and even mine, all sitting around a long oak table at their engagement brunch. Captioned, "Surrounded by those who matter most. Our core, our forever team." Not a single mention of me. I wasn't even in the background. Then one of Samantha's cousins commented, "Didn't Ryan have another brother? Or am I just imagining that?" Samantha replied, "You're not imagining. Let's just say some people support quietly, and some don't support at all." 19 people liked that comment. That night, I dusted off the old laptop I'd helped Ryan repair 2 years back. I still had remote access. He never bothered to revoke my credentials. Amateur mistake. 20 minutes later, I was in. Emails, PDFs, group chats labeled "Wedding a Team," photos, screenshots, and then I found it. A zipped folder titled Plan B, Seating Adjustments. Inside were updated guest lists, seating charts, detailed diagrams of the tent layout, each organized with military precision. Next to my name, escort to lawn area, provide paper plate, no access to tent. That was it, no explanation, just those cold instructions. Then I came across a WhatsApp group chat, messages from Ryan, Samantha, and a few of their friends. "He's just not photogenic. We love him, but he gives off that off-brand energy. I feel kind of bad. He paid for half the cake. Should we at least let him help cut it? Number, he's got sad uncle vibes. It'll mess up the aesthetic. Anyway, he's single and weird. What's he gonna do? Venmo us into submission?" And that's when it hit me. They hadn't just excluded me. They used me. Like a walking credit card with a pulse. I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't throw a single thing. I made a list instead. Cancel pending transfers, download every receipt, back up every group chat, freeze the Venmo wedding pool, reclaim control. Then came the voicemail. My father. His voice, hoarse, cold, brittle. "You need to understand something. This family moves forward. And if you're not part of the solution, you don't get to be in the photos." I played that message twice, then wrote something in my notebook. "Financial ghosts don't bring gifts." That's when I realized I wasn't showing up to that wedding to clap and smile. I was showing up to rewrite the narrative. The ceremony was set for 3 p.m. I arrived at 10:37 a.m. The venue was already dressed in its carefully curated lie. Eucalyptus garlands, rental lanterns, a custom white tent tall enough to scrape the sky. A florist was wiring greenery onto the arch I'd paid for. A man in black carefully carried the cake I had funded. And near the back, a woman in a headset and clipboard was shouting into the air. "Jenna, the planner." I walked straight up to her. "Hi," I said calmly. "I'm the financial contact for roughly 60% of this event. We need to talk." She blinked. I handed her a folder. Inside, invoices, receipts, bank statements, every single document stamped with the same name. Mine. She flipped through the stack in silence. Then I added, "I'm retracting authorization. This event no longer has my financial backing. Any vendor operating under a contract tied to my name is officially suspended, effective immediately." She went pale. "You can't just—" "I can," I said, and I just did. Within 30 minutes, the music system, unplugged, lighting rig, shut down, the 3-tier cake, packed back into the van, the caterer's ovens, powered off. Even the DJ packed up and left without a word. The $14,000 tent stood there, silent and stripped, like a stage after closing night. At 12:11 p.m., I slipped through the side entrance, wearing a black suit and carrying 3 white boxes, each wrapped in silver ribbon, one for Ryan, one for our parents, one for the couple's gift table. I found Ryan pacing near the fountain, tux jacket open, phone clenched in one sweaty hand. "What did you do?" he hissed. "Secured my assets," I said, "and reclaimed what I paid for." "You're insane. You can't just show up and sabotage." "This isn't sabotage," I cut in. "It's called clarity. I wasn't invited to the wedding, just my wallet was, so I came to get it back." He reached for one of the boxes. "Don't," I said sharply. "Open it at the altar." By then, people were starting to notice. The catering crew was gone. The lights weren't working. Sound check had failed. Samantha's voice rang from inside the tent, high-pitched, frantic. "Where's the cake?" And that's when I set the final stage. I walked calmly to the head table and placed the boxes, 1, 2, 3, on the pristine white linen. Then I turned to face the guests now gathering in confused clusters across the grass. "Since I wasn't on the guest list," I said, "I figured I'd contribute something else. Closure." All eyes locked on me. My mother's face twisted into a strange mix of panic and rage. My father looked like he was about to swing. That's when I calmly turned and gestured to the man standing beside me. "Everyone, meet Ethan Morris," I said. "Licensed attorney. He's here to witness and deliver official documentation." Ethan gave a polite nod, opened his briefcase, and began reading aloud without hesitation. "As of this morning, all shared financial accounts involving Hero's full name and the following parties: Ryan surname, Richard surname, and Helen surname, have been legally dissolved. Power of attorney is revoked. Co-signing privileges terminated. No further access to assets, property, or credit lines will be permitted." He continued, flipping the page. "Attached, you'll also find a notice of civil action regarding the fraudulent use of identity in a credit application filed on date. Evidence is enclosed." That part landed like a hammer. My father suddenly lunged forward, face twisted with rage. "You smug little parasite!" I didn't let him finish. "Oh, you mean this?" I asked, lifting my phone. I tapped the screen. A grainy video began to play. Security footage from inside a credit union lobby. There was my father, holding a folder, sliding documents across the counter. On the monitor, my full name, my social security number, the paperwork used to co-sign a business loan I didn't even know existed, all stolen from a file he must have taken from my room years ago. Gas rippled through the crowd like wildfire. Samantha dropped her bouquet. My mother whispered, "You don't know what you're doing." I looked straight at her. "Number, you didn't know who you were stealing from." Then I turned to Ryan, who stood there, rigid and pale, fists clenched at his sides. "You didn't invite me to your wedding," I said, "but you had no issue inviting my money, my labor, my silence. Well, I just RSVP'd to all three." Suddenly, the speaker system, silent all morning, crackled once, briefly. A technician testing power, maybe. I stepped away from the tent, and as I did, I played one final message through my phone's speaker. Loud enough for every guest to hear. It was my father's voice, a voicemail he'd left months ago. "You made your choice. We'll do things without you. Just don't expect to show up later." I held up the phone for emphasis. "I'm just following instructions." Then I turned my back to the tent and walked away. Behind me, the entire event began to fall apart in slow motion. No music, no lighting, no food, no illusion of family unity. Only the truth, delivered right on schedule, wrapped in 3 white boxes. 5 weeks after the wedding imploded like a cheap firework, I got a certified letter in the mail. Nothing flashy, just a plain white envelope with government markings. The kind most people ignore until it's too late. Inside were the words I'd been waiting for. "We have verified the fraudulent use of your identity in a financial application submitted by Richard surname on date. The case has been escalated to formal prosecution. You are cleared of all co-liability." Just like that, my name was clean. And my father's wasn't. The same man who used to scoff, claiming I'd never survive without his financial guidance, was now blacklisted by 2 major banks, under investigation by the IRS, and named as a defendant in a federal credit fraud case. His accounts were frozen, his license as a financial consultant suspended. But the cherry on top, the judge approved my formal withdrawal as co-signer on the original loan. The debt, The one they tried to strap to my back was now his burden alone, and it crushed him. But here's the thing about liars. When one falls, another is always ready to grab a mask. A week after the ruling, I received a message from a blocked number. It was my father's voice, but different now. Unsteady, unsure. It wasn't just me. Your mother, she helped. She brought the documents. She knew. I didn't respond, not because I doubted him, but because I already knew. That same day, a package arrived at my door. No return address. Inside, a flash drive and a handwritten letter, the handwriting immediately familiar. The same style from childhood birthday cards. It was from my uncle. My father's estranged brother. We hadn't spoken in years. I saw what you did, he wrote, and I want you to know, it wasn't just this wedding. They planned this long before. I've included something you might want to hear. On the flash drive, a recording dated 2019. My father's voice, calm, almost amused. He's good for money. That's why we keep him around. We survive. Just don't let him feel important. If he ever figures it out, we're screwed. Then silence, followed by my mother's voice. He won't. He always comes back. He's wired that way. I sat there for over an hour, not sad, not even angry, just done. Meanwhile, the rest of them were left scrambling. Ryan's wedding was never rescheduled. Samantha left him 2 weeks after the collapse. Her final Instagram story, a photo of her engagement ring sitting on a windowsill captioned, "Turns out the diamond was fake, just like the family." Ryan tried to salvage his image, posting gym selfies and recycled motivational quotes. It didn't work. The venue sued him for breach of contract. 2 vendors filed charges for non-payment. Last I heard, Ryan was living in a cramped studio above a vape shop, blocking comments as fast as they came in. My mother eventually sent a letter, not handwritten, just typed, cold and clinical. "We didn't know what your father had done. We never meant to hurt you. Please remember we're still family." I read it once, then filed it under delusions. That same day, the day I was officially cleared, I uploaded a video. No yelling, no dramatic edits, just me, sitting in my apartment, calmly holding up every receipt, every screenshot, every legal document. I even included footage from the wedding, the boxes, the breakdown, the silence that followed. Then I looked straight into the camera and said, "They used my name. They spent my money. They erased my face. So I took all of it back." The video hit 3.4 million views in just 2 weeks. The comments flooded in. "My family did this to me too. This is why I went no contact. Not all scars bleed. Some have dollar signs." Then came the DMS journalists, podcasters, advocacy groups. One even offered to sponsor a platform if I wanted to help others like me. So I built one. I called it No More Tense, a space for people used by their families as human wallets and invisible support beams. Within a month, the Discord server had over 15,000 members. We launched a public forum. 6 volunteer lawyers signed on to offer free consults for victims of financial abuse inside families. My first post was simple. You're not ungrateful for saying no. You're not selfish for needing peace. You're not a villain for walking away. One night, I was locking up the little co-working space I'd rented for the project when my phone rang. It was a number I hadn't seen in a long time. I let it ring. Then another. Then a text from my aunt. "Your father's heart is weak. He collapsed yesterday. Your mom says he's asking for you." I just stared at the screen, then turned it off. Back at home, I poured myself a drink and opened the final file from that flash drive my uncle had sent. It was a photo, one I'd never seen before. Me at 12, holding a certificate I didn't even remember earning. My dad stood next to me, grinning wide, proud, fake, his hand resting on my shoulder. I remember thinking it meant something back then. On the back of the photo, scrawled in pen. Even then, he didn't know we were just using him. I placed the photo in the fireplace and watched the edges curl and blacken. Then I opened my laptop, clicked publish on a new post and typed, "My family taught me 2 things. 1, blood is leverage. 2, silence is loyalty." I don't owe them either anymore. 6 months. That's how long it had been since I closed the door on all of it. The wedding, the trial, the guilt disguised as concern, gone. 6 months since I hit mute on a lifetime of manufactured noise. I moved to another state, a quiet town, big skies. No one knew my name. I shut down every personal account. No more Instagram, no more LinkedIn, no more Facebook for my mother to tag me in when she needed public sympathy. I kept my work, kept my platform, kept my mission. But me, I vanished, and it felt like freedom. People don't realize how loud fake love is until they finally shut it off. The first month, my aunt emailed every day. The second, Ryan tried calling from different numbers. By the third, my mother left a voicemail, started with a sob, ended with a threat. You can't just disappear. We're family, for heaven's sake. That word again, family, like it was a lifetime contract signed in blood. Like abuse wrapped in a shared last name was something I was supposed to choke down for appearances. So I stayed quiet. Not out of anger, but because I wasn't angry anymore. Some days I went without thinking of them at all. Whole weekends where I forgot my brother even existed. Then one random Tuesday, I passed a bakery. In the window, a perfect white three-tiered cake. Flawless, balanced, untouched. I stopped and stared, and then I smiled. Because that's what they always wanted me to be. Present, polished, useful, not loved, just symmetrical. Last week, I sat alone in my favorite little cafe, the kind of place where no one asks your story. I was sipping black coffee and reading Baldwin when my phone buzzed. 54 missed calls, 17 messages, 4 voicemails, all from old numbers, some masked, some not. I didn't listen to a single one. I turned the screen face down on the table, took another sip. I used to shake when they reached out, used to believe I owed them something, an answer, a defense, a reaction. But that's what they never taught me. Silence is an answer, a louder one than screaming ever could be. They still don't know where I live, still don't know I changed my number, and they definitely don't know that the person they used to summon with guilt, praise, and pressure, he doesn't exist anymore. I didn't just burn bridges, I erased the entire coastline. Before I left the cafe, I wrote something in the back of my book. Just a note to myself. They used to own my reactions. Now they don't even get my silence. I tore the page out, left it tucked under the coffee cup, and walked out without looking back.